In November of 1920, women nationwide voted for the first time in a presidential election. At last, women had come to the end of the struggle for the vote. It had been 70 years of petitioning, pleading, arguing, and marching. During all those years, only a few Western states, notably Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah, slowly gave women the right to vote, and several more fell into line after 1910. In 1868 and 1870, you might remember that women had been told to wait their turn. It was, said advocates of the 14th and 15th Amendments, the Negro's hour, and not time for women to vote. Half a century later, Congress passed and 2/3 of the states ratified the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. That amendment was simple. It said, "The right of citizens in the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex." Was this to be a new beginning? Now that women had formal political equality, would they soon have an equivalent freedom? Would they be able to use the vote to amass power and influence, to have a voice in political affairs? It turned out to be more complicated than that. If achieving the right to vote gave women some of the citizenship rights they had not earlier enjoyed, it launched a second struggle for equality. This time, the struggle would continue into the 1970s, and some might argue still continues down to our own moment. The problem lay with how women had argued for the right to vote. Some, like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and then Alice Paul, the most radical, had argued that women were humans and, like men, should have the vote as part of their common humanity. These women would settle for nothing less than absolute equality. Anti-suffragists, you will remember, opposed this argument on the grounds that giving women the vote threatened the family by undermining the authority of the husband and father who represented it and whose voice should unite it. They feared that sharing the vote would demasculinize men and challenge male authority. Many women shared that fear. In response, a third group argued that the vote would affirm women's difference. It would bring the values of the home, caring, nurturing, anti-corruption, and greater morality into the political sphere. The Daughters of the American Revolution, for example, perhaps one of the oldest organizations of American women, believed that women would use the vote to affirm women's roles at home. Their members, and those organized by the National American Women's Suffrage Association, argued that women would introduce a new level of morality into the polity. Careful not to offend the racial segregationists of the South, they focused on the potential promise of white women. In the end, this was the argument that won. Women got the vote, not because they deserved it as human beings, because they were the same as men, but out of what historian Eileen Creditor called expediency. They won the vote because they were different from men. They promised to bring the nurturing and caring values of the home into politics and make politics less corrupt.